welcome to my show Indus Cuisine, and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. We're back with a new episode from the heart of Pakistan. Today's recipe is very interesting and we're making Murgh kali dal. Murgh means chicken, kali means black, and lentil means dal. This is what we're making. There are around 3 to 4 types of minimum lentils you could find in a superstore or in a general market. And in this recipe, what are the ingredients? They're very easy. This recipe is a household famous recipe in Pakistan, and usually everyone makes it at least once a week. And if we make it once a week, just imagine how close this recipe is to our heart. This recipe includes around 750 grams of chicken. I'll be using chicken legs and thighs. Then you need around 3 tomatoes and 2 onions. You need around half a kg of black lentil, which I've soaked, and now it's become almost double in size. So soak the lentil for at least 1 hour. Please remember that. Then you need around half cup of oil, some green chilies, some coriander powder, some red chili, some turmeric powder, some dried red chilies fresh. You need some black peppercorn, you need some cloves, you need some cumin seeds, some garlic, and you need some salt. This is all you'll be needing for today's recipe. It's very easy. But firstly, what you'll do, you have to transfer all the lentil into a pressure cooker and let it cook for 10 minutes once the whistle blows off. Okay, so first what I'll do is I'll add some water. So now you have to add some water in the pressure cooker, let's say around 1.5 liters, because you want the lentil to be floating, remember that. So I'll increase the heat to full, and remember you have to wash the lentil at least 4 times and then soak it in water for at least an hour. It will always increase in size. Why? Because the lentil is dry, and when you soak it, it always absorbs water and increases in its capacity. So now transfer all of the lentil over here. You can see there's some water here. Why? Because the lentil was soaked properly. Okay, as you can see that the lentil is properly submerged in it. I'll just show it to you over here. And now I shall keep it back on the stove. What you need for this recipe is you need around half a teaspoon of salt in this water to season it, and around just a clove of garlic, which I shall just press like this and throw it in. This is done. Now I will give this a lid, and once the pressure cooker goes off, you'll start counting the time. Okay, the pressure cooker is on high heat. Once the whistle blows, we'll bring it down in temperature. Okay, so this board is clean completely. I haven't used it for anything. I just added the piece of garlic on it. So now what I'll do is I'll use it for chicken, and then I shall discard it but wash it. The chicken goes in, remember that. But before that, what you need is you need to make slight cuts on the chicken so that it cooks till the core. Always remove this and keep it on the side. Please remember it, and pick up the boning knife. Boning knife is a knife which is basically used for chicken or meat which has bone, because you do not want to damage the blade of your chef knife. The blade of this knife is much more thicker, so it won't chip or damage. This is my job to tell you, to inform you, and this will just make slight cuts so that the heat penetrates till the core of the meat. Okay, now this is done. What I'll do is I'll rinse my hands, and then I shall transfer all of this into the pan. Now what do you need? You need a pan. Take the pan, place it here, increase the heat to full, and transfer the oil into this. This is done. Now once the oil comes to heat, we'll start cooking, but before that, shift it over here and the chicken can rest. We'll bring the green board. The green board is at the back. Place it here, and now let's get ready with the onions first. You need the onions to be finely sliced, so I'll be taking 2 onions for this recipe, and I'll just cut it from the center. Push the onions on the side and finely slice them. The onions must be finely sliced, remember that, because that is what will give you the perfect texture. We'll be using 2 onions, and we shall just lightly brown them, not very dark on the color. The chicken will go in after the onions are browned. You have to remember that. You will not fry the chicken before. The oil is hot, as you can see. Now goes in the onion. So transfer the onions in the pan. And add around a pinch of salt. Mix it up properly. And coat them with oil properly. Flatten them out. When you mix it in oil, what happens is that the slices of onion that are sticking together are released. Now what I'll do is I'll give it a lid and I'll let this cook for around, let's say, 2 minutes on high heat. So till the time this is cooking, what we'll do is we'll get ready with the other ingredient, which is the garlic. So the garlic must not be finely chopped for this recipe. We need the garlic to be finely sliced. So pick up a paring knife as the garlic is small and go as close as you can. Slowly and gradually. And what is the reason behind slicing the garlic fine? The reason is that if the garlic comes in your bite, you want the garlic to be really thin so that you get the perfect texture. Slowly and gradually will take you a long way, remember that. And just push it in the center. As you can see, it has come to heat. What I'll do now is I shall reduce the heat to medium. The heat stays on medium. Over here, if you see, the onions are nicely translucent. Increase the heat and now add the garlic in it. The garlic also needs to be light brown, which will take some time, and that's why I'm adding it at the point where the onions are cooking evenly. Now mix it around. And let this cook. So now around 8 minutes to this and 2 minutes to this, until the time this is cooking. What we'll do next is we'll just add a few things. So now some of the ingredients will go later on and some of them will go right now, which means partially we'll be adding the ingredients. So I'll add around 2 pieces of red chili and I'll add around 2 pieces of the green chili. So now why am I adding only 2 pieces? It's because so that the oil gets fairly flavored. Throw this on the side, cut the chili into half, and remember that the spice of the chili is in the seeds, not in the skin. So scoop it up and transfer it in. As you can see that it is slightly and slowly going a little brown towards the edges, the onion. So let it cook. Let it cook till the time it gets brown on the edges, and then mix it up again so that the flavor is properly amalgamated and the onions are fairly fried. Now I'll go for a short break, and once we're back from the break, we'll continue with the recipe. Keep watching Indus Cuisine. Welcome back. You're watching Indus Cuisine and I'm your chef, Basim. Akhund. During the break, I did nothing. I waited for you. I just wanted to show you that as you can see that the onion is turning brown towards the edges. Why? Because the heat is more towards here. So what we'll do is we shall just push in the onions from the edges to the center and spread it out again. Now, I'll just tilt it so that all the oil comes in the corner and we give it a chance to deep fry. So I'll hold the pan like this for 30 seconds and I shall just talk to you because this is the only thing I can do. And the other reason is why? Because I do not want to add too much of oil in the recipe like people do, like a cup of oil, when I can do it with half a cup of oil. On the other hand, the lentil, the black lentil, is almost ready. What I'll do is after making this brown, I'll reduce the heat to the pilot and then I shall quickly take the lentil out. Okay, so now they're fairly brown. what we can do is, now we can convert or divert our attention towards the lentil. I'll dish this out. I have to rest the pressure cooker for at least 15 minutes. So I'll just put this on pilot. So till the time I take the lentil out, I'll clear out and then I'll show you what to do next. So during the break, I just did one thing. You can see that the lentil is properly cooked and there is a little bit of water over here. This is all the juice you will be using. Why? Because this has all the flavor and you will not let go to waste. Let me just show you. I'll pick up a piece and I'll just press it in my hands, and as you can see, it's breaking apart, which means the lentils are ready. I'm just going to wipe my hands with a piece of tissue paper and then I shall continue. The onions over here are nicely brown and there are some patches of white in between, and that is what I want. On the other hand, I'll show you that a piece of garlic should look like this. It should look completely brown. Why? Because it will release more flavor. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll take around 2 tomatoes, 1 and 2. I'll keep it over here. I shall take the eye of the tomato out and place it here. We'll throw this in the dustbin, and now we shall just finely chop these. You want to finely chop these. Why? Because then only you will get the perfect texture required for this recipe. I will not increase the heat over here. Why? Because if I do, the onions will get burned, you could say. So slowly and gradually keep going and keep chopping. I'm fairly doing it slowly and gradually at times. Why? Because you need the perfect result. Increase the heat to full and transfer all the tomatoes into the pan. This goes in. And now start mixing it. The pan is a little cold. I want it to be piping hot, then only I can mix it properly. Add around 2 pinches of salt, or you can go salt to taste. This goes at the back. Now the pan has come to heat. What usually happens is that if the pan is cold, the oil in the pan will be thick. If it's piping hot, it will be smoother. So when you're on high heat, when you're cooking on high heat, it's easier to keep mixing all the ingredients together like this. If you can see now, it's fairly moving. Before that, it was sticking to the pan. So now when I move it like this, I will get the perfect result. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll add just around a 1/4 cup of water, which I'll pick from here. But before that, let me mix it more. And now we shall continue. Add a 1/4 cup of water. And now give it a lid. I want the tomatoes to cook on high heat so that they start breaking down. Until the time that is happening, what we'll do is we shall finely chop the green chilies, the thin ones, which will go in the recipe next. So I'll keep this over here. The lentil is ready, and now this recipe will be done within 10 minutes. Okay, so now finely chop these. And this is almost done. Now pick the green chilies up, throw it on the side. Now mix this up. For this recipe, you want the tomatoes to be soft, but you do not want them to start falling apart. So just break them a little bit. And now add the green chilies. The green chilies go in. And now we shall add the chicken. The chicken goes in. And now we cover it up with all the flavor. Cover it up. I haven't added the spices as yet. Why? Because I want the chicken to cook a little bit in the tomatoes and in the onions first. Now what I'll do is I'll add another 1/2 cup of water. This is done, and now give it a lid. Let it cook on high heat for 2 minutes, and then we shall continue with the recipe. And before that, I shall just clean up. The only thing that I've done right now is I've just let the chicken cook for like a minute and a half, and we'll give it another 1 minute and then we'll continue. So what I've done, you need to listen to me carefully. The lentil needs to be soaked for an hour. Once you've soaked it for an hour, you will cook it for 8 to 10 minutes in the pressure cooker and you'll get this consistency. This needs to be soft but not completely converted into a mash. Why? Because if you convert it into a mash, the whole texture will change and the recipe's face or the look will also completely change and you will not get the desired flavor. Texture and flavor go hand in hand, so you must remember this always. Then we added some tomatoes and onions, but before that we just cooked the onions to a point that they got brown. Now the other information is that if you go to a market, you can also find onions already in their brown form. Now these onions are already fried, you just need to open the packet and transfer them over here. But if you have some time, there's nothing better than fresh ones. Okay, so now it's been 2 minutes. You can see that the chicken is only 30% cooked. And now what do you need to do? You need to add a few spices. So what I'll do is I'll pick the chicken up and I'll shift it on one side. Now the reason behind that is I want the tomatoes to cook nicely and I want the spices to cook evenly. If I cover the chicken with the spices or the spices fall onto the chicken, what will happen is you won't get a fair flavor. Okay, the red chili goes in, the cumin powder goes in, the turmeric goes in. We add some cloves, not too much, around let's say 6 to 7. We add around 2 more pieces of red chili. We're keeping some on the side. Why? Because I'll tell you in a bit. You add a few peppercorns and then you add a little bit of coriander powder. This is done. Now we shall mix all these things on high heat again on the side. And now what I'll do is I'll just pick up some water and add it over here. I've just added, you could say, 4 to 5 tablespoons. Why? Because I want this side of the pan to cook nicely. So now what I'm doing is I'm mixing all the goodness into this like this. And now we'll start mixing it around. Fold it and reduce the heat. It must be folded properly. Why? Because this is where the flavor will come in. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to change or convert it into a wok. It goes here. I shall shift all of this over here in front of you and try not wasting anything. So I have completely cleaned it, shift it over here again, increase the heat to full, and now add another half cup of water. It goes in, and now we use the lentils. The lentil goes on top. And I'm not going to mix it. The reason behind not me mixing it is that there is water at the bottom. The chicken is still not fully cooked, and when the water will boil at the base, it will eventually give up the spices and it will mix slowly and gradually. I'll shift this over here. I'll give it a lid. I'll increase the heat to medium now, and we will cook this for another 5 minutes. So till then this is cooking, what we'll do is we need some green coriander. I'll bring it over here. Pull it, keep it here, and take the remaining and keep it at the back. This is done. You take the stems out for this one. You don't want the stems at all. Goes in the dustbin. And now you closely and finely chop the coriander. Slowly and gradually go in. And pick this up and throw it on the side. This is cooking nicely. As you can see, I haven't mixed it as yet. Top some coriander. Pick up your wooden spatula, spread around. And let it cook. So now we'll give this 5 minutes, and till the time this is cooking, what we'll do is we'll clear out, and in the end I'll show you how to temper the recipe. So as you can see, the lentil is properly cooked, it's nice, it's delicious, and I shall just put it on the stove back over here and not cook it anymore. Why? Because you don't want to overcook it, because you don't want to dry it. Remember one thing, if the lentil is really dry, this recipe is usually taken with rice. If it's dry, you won't get the perfect texture and you won't enjoy the recipe at all. Okay, apart from that, now we need to prepare the tempering. For that, you need to increase the heat. I'll pick up a tissue and I'll just wipe everything over here. Why? Because I just get a little finicky when it comes to cleanliness. Why? Because I do not want people to be following the wrong things at all. Okay, place it over here. This is done. Now, once the pan comes to heat, what do you need for the tempering? You need some clarified butter, you need some red chili, you need some peppercorns, you need around, let's say, a teaspoon and a half of cumin seeds, you need some cloves, you need 3 to 4 green chilies, and just salt to taste. Okay, this is done. But before that, what do I need to do? I need to dish this beautiful thing out. Why? Because the tempering will always go on top of this. So what I'll do is basically I'll just use this one. I'll keep it at the back again, and we shall start shifting all the lentil into this. Just shift it over here, pick this up, take the lid off, and transfer all the lentil first. So remember, always the lentil goes at the bottom. A little bit more. And now we shall place the chicken on top. So what I'll do is I'll pick the chicken up, and just place it smoothly. This is done. Keep this on the side. I've just added food for around 4 people in this. Whenever you make lentil, it's always for more people. So now what do you need? You need to shift all of this over here. Place it like this, and now get ready for the tempering. Increase the heat to full. Take an onion, keep it here, and finely slice a quarter of it. That is it. Keep this back on the side. Take some clarified butter, around 4 tablespoons. Transfer it over here. And keep the remaining at the back. Now increase the heat, add the onions, and tilt it so that they get piping hot. Okay, so till the time this is cooking, what we'll do is we shall pick 3 green chilies. I'll take the top off and throw this in the dustbin. This is done. Place the green chilies in the oil, tilt the pan so that you can deep fry it. Add some cumin seeds, add around 3 to 4 cloves, add around a pinch of salt, and add the remaining red chilies. All of this is done. Keep frying it, keep moving it, and give it, let's say, around a minute. So it's very easy what I've done. I've just added the chicken, the lentil, and now in the end you will temper it. If you do not want to use clarified butter, what you can do is you can also use normal oil, you can use some olive oil, you can use some butter also, but the point is you need to fry all the ingredients. Okay, now reduce the heat and transfer all of this onto the lentil on the top. So slowly and gradually just add the oil, tilt it, and today's recipe is ready. I hope you liked today's episode. I'll see you in another episode of Indus Cuisine. If you have any queries, if you have any requests, you can go to our Indus News official YouTube channel, YouTube page, and you can go and comment underneath my episode over there, and I shall do those recipes for you on the show over here. I'll see you in another episode of Indus Cuisine. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.